Picture this, you're deep in a game. You need to mute Discord, you need to switch scenes in OBS, you need to skip a track, and your Stream Deck is just over there. That one extra reach, that 1 second of taking your eyes off the screen. And if your keyboard was your Stream Deck, not a virtual one, not some software overlay gimmick, a real physical, fully functional Elgato Stream Deck built directly into your keyboard, 12 LCD keys, 2 programmable dials, a color display, all right next to your WASD. That's exactly what the Corsair Galleon 100 SD is. And honestly, it might be the most ambitious gaming keyboard ever made. People have been dreaming about this for years, and it's finally here. I'm Drew, and today we're going all in on the Galleon 100 SD. Every feature, every spec, and every reason this thing deserves a spot on your desk. And let's get into it. Before we get into the specs, I need to give you a little backstory because this product is kind of a big deal historically. Corsair acquired Elgato back in 2018, and that's 8 years ago. Ever since the acquisition, the gaming community has had one obvious question: when are you putting a Stream Deck in a keyboard? And it seems so obvious. Two of the most popular products in the streaming and gaming, why not combine them? 8 years later, the Galleon 100 SD is the answer, and the fact that it took this long tells you everything. They weren't going to rush it. They were going to do it right. And Corsair debuted this thing at CSC 2026 in January, and the internet immediately lost its mind. It started shipping at the end of January and retails at $349.99. And yes, that sounds like a lot for a keyboard, but stay with me, okay? Because when you break that down, you're actually getting the value story gets really interesting really fast. And let's talk about what you're holding when this thing arrives. The Galleon 100 SD is a full-size keyboard minus the numpad, which has been, replaced by something far more exciting. And we'll get to that in a second. The dimension clocks in at 17.64 inches wide, 6.26 inches deep, and about 1.65 inches tall at the thickest point, including the knobs. It's big, but it doesn't feel bloated. And the weight is 3.07 pounds, or about 1.4 kilograms, which gives it a really solid planted feel on your desk. And this thing is not sliding around. The top case is aluminum, the real aluminum, not the plastic that looks like metal some companies try to pull off. Corsair went with a smooth sparkle matte finish with, chamfered edges, clean, premium. It looks like a $350 keyboard. And underneath, you've got 4 large non-skid rubber feet plus 2 sets of flip-out angle adjusters so you can dial in your preferred typing angle. And here's a nice touch. The Galleon 100 SD ships with a detachable magnetic wrist rest. Just snap it on. 17.64 inches wide, matching the keyboard exactly. And your wrist will thank you after a 6-hour gaming section. Connectivity is USB-C with number one, a 1.8 meter sleeve detachable cable included, and there's a USB-C pass-through port on the keyboard itself, meaning you can plug in a headset dongle, a thumb drive, or a controller receiver right into the keyboard instead of crawling under your desk. A small feature, big quality of life. Okay, so here we go. This is the part you came for, where the numpad used to live. You now have a fully integrated Elgato Stream Deck, not a fake one, not an emulated one, the real deal. You got 12 programmable LCD keys in a 3x4 grid, each one with its own individual display that shows a custom icon for whatever action you've assigned it to. You want a mute button with your Discord logo? Done. A scene switch for OBS with a little camera icon. Easy. A push to talk key. Yep. A macro to spam your ultimate ability. Yeah, you can do that too. And there's also a built-in color display. 720 by 384 pixels. About 2.75 inches sitting above the 12 keys. This shows you live information, your current page of Steam Deck options, system stats like GPU usage, your stream activity, whatever you configure. And there are 2 programmable dials flanking the screen. By default, the right dial controls your volume and it turns to adjust, press to mute, And the left dial cycles between pages of your Stream Deck layout, but you can remap them to anything. And here's how the page system works. You can create unlimited pages of Stream Deck layouts, one for gaming, one for streaming, one for music, one for Photoshop, one for your home automation setup if you're that person. The left dial rotates through them at any moment. Whatever page is active, those 12 keys show the action for that context. It's like having infinite buttons that only show up when you need them. And that genuinely is clever. And because this is a real Stream Deck, not some knockoff, it works with the entire Elgato Stream Deck software ecosystem. The marketplace has thousands of official plugins from Discord, Spotify, OBS, Twitch, YouTube, Photoshop, Premiere, and on and on and on. And if it exists on a standalone Stream Deck, it works here because it is a Stream Deck. And here's something important to understand about the Galleon 100 SD2. Corsair didn't just duct tape a Stream Deck onto the side of a mediocre keyboard. The keyboard itself is legitimately excellent. The switches are Corsair's own MLX pulse linear switches, and these are 5-pin pre-lubricated mechanical switches with a 45-gram actuation force, a 2mm actuation point, and a 3.6 millimeters of total travel. They're rated for 80 million keystrokes. And this is well over a decade of daily use before you even start thinking about wear. The feel, it's smooth, really smooth. Corsair describes them as, quote, and unquote, thocky, linear, and that's accurate. Every key pass has this deep, satisfying thud rather than the thin click of a blue switch or the hollow rattle of a cheap board. It sounds premium because it is premium. And the PCB is hot swappable, accepting both 3-pin and 5-pin switches. So if MLX Pulse isn't your thing, you could swap in your own switches without any soldering. And that's a huge bonus on a $350 board. It means you're not locked into one typing feel for the life of the keyboard. And the keycaps are double shot PBT with shine through legends for the RGB. PBT is the good stuff. It doesn't shine up or yellow over time like ABS keycaps, and the texture has that slightly matte premium feel that enthusiasts love. And the underneath of all this, the gasket mounting combined with six layers of internal sound dampening foam. Case ping is basically non-existent on this board. The acoustics are dialed into a degree you rarely see outside of a boutique enthusiast builds. And for a mass marketing gaming keyboard, the sound profile here is exceptional. So let's talk about the competitive gaming side of this keyboard, because Corsair clearly didn't build this just for streamers. The Galleon 100 SD runs on Corsair's Axon technology, their in-house polling chip that supports up to 8,000 hertz. Standard gaming keyboards pull at 1,000 hertz, meaning this send your input to the PC 1,000 times per second. The Galleon 100 SD does it 8,000 times per second. That's 8 times faster. The result is an input latency of just under 0.125 milliseconds. For competitive players, that responsive is really very real, especially in fast-paced shooters where every frame counts. Now here's the really cool part. It achieves 8,000 hertz pulling while simultaneously running the integrated Stream Deck over a single USB connection. Corsair's engineering team deserves some serious credit for pulling that off. Then there's the flash trap, the SOCD. The SOCD stands for simultaneous opposite cardinal direction. Basically, what happens when you press A and D at the same time in competitive shooters, counter strafing, quickly tapping the opposite direction to stop your movement in an advanced technique that traditionally requires perfect timing. Flash tap handles this automatically. When you press 2 opposing direction keys simultaneously, flash tap always prioritizes the most recently pressed key, so you can counter strafe cleanly and consistently every single time without needing pinpoint precision. It's a feature that technically only found on magnetic Hall effect switches keyboards. Getting it on a traditional mechanical keyboard is a big deal. And full in-key rollover and 100% anti-ghost rounding things out. Every key you press gets registered. Even in the most chaotic input situation, no missed key presses, no dropped inputs, just pure reliable performance. And the software situation on the Galleon 100 SD is a little unique. And worth understanding before you buy: the keyboard side, lighting, polling rate, flash tap configuration, key mapping, macros is handled by Corsair's new Corsair Web Hub. This is a browser-based configuration tool, and here's the clever part: you don't need to have running all the time. You open it, make your changes, and those settings get written to the keyboard's 8 megabytes on board memory. Close the browser and your settings are saved permanently on the hardware. Plug it into a different PC, your settings are still there. No software required at all. And once you're set up, the Stream Deck side is handled by the Elgato Stream Deck app, the same software that runs a standalone Stream Deck. If you've used a Stream Deck before, you already know this ecosystem. Drag actions onto the keys, browse the marketplace for plugins, and set up profiles. It's intuitive, it's powerful, and the app does need to be running for the Stream Deck functions to work. But the true of any Stream Deck device, it's a very small ask for what you get. Yes, 2 apps from one. Keyboard sounds a little clunky on paper, but in practice, it makes complete sense. And Corsair's Web Hub handles Corsair's things. Elgato's app handles Elgato's things. They're both excellent at what they do. And keeping them separate means both sides of this keyboard work exactly as they should. All right, so let's address the elephant in the room. $350. That's the price, and yes, it is the most expensive gaming keyboard most people will ever consider. But here's the math that makes this genuinely interesting. A standalone Elgato Stream Deck, the standard one, costs around $135. A premium keyboard at this level, easily $150 to $200, and sometimes more. And those up, you're looking at $285 to $335 for 2 separate devices, 2 separate USB ports, and a more cluttered desk. The Galleon 100 SD replaces both: 1 device, 1 USB cable, and 1 desk footprint. And both halves of the product are genuinely excellent. The keyboard and the Stream Deck each stand on their own merits. You're not compromising on the other side to get the combo. Is it for everyone? Honestly, no. If you've never used a Stream Deck before and don't have a stream or productivity workflow that benefits from programmable LCD keys, the $350 price tag is a steep ask for what feels like a keyboard. But if you do use a Stream Deck, or you've been curious about getting one, this thing basically eliminates the argument for buying them separately. The competition, there basically isn't any. The Final Mouse Centerpiece Pro keyboard was similarly priced, but wasn't expected until September. Other LCD keyboard concepts have floated around for years and never actually materialized. The Galleon 100 SD shipped, and that matters. So here's the bottom line. The Corsair Galleon 100 SD is $350, and it packs in a full Elgato Stream Deck with 12 LCD keys, 2 dials, and a colored display. But MLX pulse linear switches rated for 80 million keystrokes, gasket mounting, 6 layers of sound dampening, hot swap support for 3 and 5 pin switches, a double shot PBT keycaps, a magnetic wrist rest, an Axon 8000 hertz polling, a flash tap, SOCD, in-key rollover, 8 MB onboard memory, USB-C pass-through, and Corsair Web Hub plus Stream Deck app support. This is an absolute stacked feature list, and Corsair and Elgato took 8 years to build this, and it shows. The keyboard is legitimately great. The Stream Deck is legitimately great. The combination is something nobody else has pulled off at this level. If you're a streamer, a content creator, a competitive gamer, or honestly just someone who wants ultimate control of their desktop without turning their desk into a control tower, the Galleon 100 SD is the most interesting keyboard on the market right now. And if you found this video helpful, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment. Are you a Stream Deck user already? Would you make the switch to having it built into your keyboard? I want to hear from you down below. I'm Drew, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Let's go.